So in the next 10 minutes, you're going to learn how to make your first $100,000 as easiest and fast as possible. So this was me at 18 years old. I was very introverted. I was shy. I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to make money online and live a cool life, I guess. You can see this was me. But anyway, fast forward a few months, and in July 2023, so about 2 years ago, I made my first $10,000 per month. You can see right here that £8,308 equates to around $10,000, maybe a few $100 less. But long story short, that year we did $106,000, 830 cents. So you can see that translates 79,000. But anyway, let's jump into how this is actually possible and how I actually did this, because you're probably wondering the same. How did you go from not making anything and having no clue what you're doing to making $100,000? This was like 2 years ago, so I'm more advanced now and I can fully explain this coherently and in an articulate manner. So long story short, everyone wants to be a millionaire, but the truth is the first $100,000 is the real battle. And you've probably experienced this. Maybe you've tried a few things. Like me, I tried, crypto, I tried drop shipping, I tried everything under the sun, but nothing seemed to be working. But yeah, Charlie Munger said the first $100,000 is a bitch, but you got to go do it. So why is this? Well, it's not because the money, it's hard to get. It's more so who you become. And $100,000, believe it or not, is not life-changing, but the version of you who earns it is. And I'm going to explain how to do this literally in the same way I did very soon. So keep watching. Don't be a brain rot person and just like watching the YouTube video. I'm going to explain it in literally 2 minutes. I need you to understand this first though. So the person who makes $100,000 for the first time learns how to build something, how to sell, how to market, and how to think long term. So it's not luck anymore, it's proof. And once you've done it, you've basically unlocked the map so you can do it again, but much faster. But most people never make it because they miss one thing, and I'll reveal at the end the 4 problems most people run into. So yeah, you don't need any degree, you don't need any capital or audience to do this. Let me explain how. So very first and foremost, you need to understand what money is. Well, money is just a receipt for the value you gave someone else. Okay, I want you to write that down. Money is just a receipt for the value you gave someone else. Now, value is when you help solve a problem, avoid pain, or move closer to a desire. So if calories measure energy, kilowatts measure power, money measures the value transferred within a market. So if you want to make $100,000, you have to ask yourself, have I given $100,000 worth of value to the market? And money is the exact same as creating a fire. Now keep watching, because I'm going to be explaining the micro strategy that is tactical and actionable and you can take away today. I just need to understand, so I need you to understand the actual principle of money and wealth creation first and foremost. So to make a fire is the same way to make money, or to generate heat. Energy input is always required. You're not just going to stumble across $100,000 or make $100,000 without any strategy. It just doesn't happen like that. And even if it did, it wouldn't be a good thing for you. However, without adding energy up front, like I just said, the fire never starts. And this is a requirement for heat generation to make a fire. And it's the exact same with money. You have to add value up front. You have to add energy up front. So if you don't watch this video and you click off, you watch another one, it's going to be like you having to gather materials to try and make a fire. You'll maybe pick up some wood, you'll pick up some other material in the woods. However, if you follow this video and what I'm going to share in the next few minutes, I'm going to explain the exact strategy so you don't have to scrap for different ways of making money, and you can just go straight to the actual playbook that I'm going to give you. So what you're going to do is essentially create a client attraction flywheel. Now, every big company has one of these. For example, Nike, they sponsor top athletes. The athletes win and wear Nike. Therefore, there's a positive association and cultural credibility. It attracts youth and trendsetters, aspirational brand, mass adoption. This is where you come in, and then they fund more sponsorship, and it's a flywheel, right? You're not going to be creating a flywheel like this, but you are going to be creating your own flywheel in the next few minutes, and I'll be explaining how this can make you $100,000 as soon as possible. So for example, Red Bull, they did something very smart. They sponsor athletes in the same way Nike do, but they understood that it was a bit competitive in that sense. So they just decided to host extreme sports events so they can own everything pretty much. Like you have the Red Bull cliff jumping, you have, Red Bull soapbox, you have other Red Bull events, which, obviously are extreme, so that is a great representation of what the drink is about. But from this like event, they can then capture insane shareable footage. And keep watching because I'm going to explain how to build your own in a second. But they can capture insane shareable footage that they can then post across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok for mass distribution and mass attention. Fans share the content. It obviously just grows organically because they don't have to run ads. But in the same way, I could be making this video in which I create a long form asset in the same way Red Bull creates an event. I can then take this asset and then distribute it onto other platforms to get more of the total addressable market to see me and what I'm about. So that is Red Bull. And if we look at a business example, one more, and then I'll be explaining my one and how you can build your own and what a beginner flywheel could look like. We have Hormozi, who posts high value business content daily. That builds massive trust with his audience. They buy, a book. I don't know how much it is. It's probably more than $1, but that essentially allows Hormozi's audience to become qualified buyers at that point. So it's not just like SQL, so sales qualified leads. It's not MQLs, marketing qualified leads, but it's rather an actual qualified buyer. So this is his like funnel, I guess. The book delivers more value. People share it, increase reach, and then people consume more content. Maybe they go to a mastermind and stuff like that. So you need to create your own. Like I have my one. This is my current flywheel. I post a long form asset that builds trust with you watching this right now. Maybe you'll follow me on IG. You'll go to the description. Maybe you'll sign up for one of my software, Apex Scrape. You'll get some leads. I collect data. That's how it usually goes. Some people buy straight away from like one video, but some people, they go to the description. They need some more trust, so they follow me on Instagram. They start a free trial, as I said. I then can retarget them with email, SMS, and ads. So for example, I run Instagram ads, only story ads right now, with a low budget, but that goes to the people that have watched more than 95% of one of my videos on Instagram. So that then gets appeared as a story ad. They buy a low ticket, maybe, one of my SaaS, and then they potentially get upsold. Although I'm not doing like any one-to-ones or any consulting right now. So it's mainly just like SaaS that I. Now, if you're starting, your flywheel could look something like this. You reach out to an ICP. They check out your profile, which is what will happen, I promise you. And if you do it correctly and you build in public, meaning you share what you do each day, you share your opinion on AI or whatever you're kind of selling, and you document your journey, which is so important in this day and age when we're in a trust crisis. If you do that correctly, you reach out, they check your profile, which is what happens. You will then get an appointment if you build the actual assets. And then you can make your first high ticket sale, and you won't have a long sales cycle, meaning you won't have to jump on 2, 3, 4 calls with the prospect, because hopefully you've showed them assets or they've seen your assets, so they trust you on a subconscious level already. So that is an example of a flywheel. Now you need to build your own, and I'm going to explain how in a second. Another flywheel could be you post on social media consistently. You engage with a niche community. So this is a flywheel within itself, because you make a post on social media, let's say on Instagram, that post gets comments. You then can use those comments for more content ideation. You'll gain followers. You'll build a very tight-knit following essentially. You can then offer free value in whatever form you want, ideally around your offer and your expertise. You then collect emails, for example, you nurture the audience, you do live streams, you can make your first low ticket sale. So it kind of depends on what funnel and what product you're running, what model you're running as a business. But this is a very good 4-step plan to figure out your exact flywheel to make your first $100,000. So number one, who are you actually helping? So if you're helping like real estate investors or real estate professionals, you're not gonna run the same like funnel as me, for example. You need to figure out like where they hang out the most. For example, are they searching on YouTube? So for example, a lot of my like attention comes through SEO, meaning people searching for like lead generation, people searching for like AI. And if you find me at the top and I rank high in terms of digital real estate, then great, now you're in my flywheel. So you'll watch one of my videos, maybe you'll watch another one of my videos, you'll build, I build trust, and that's just how like it goes. However, maybe some of your audience are scrolling Instagram. Maybe if you're helping like clinic owners, they're on Facebook. Or maybe you're helping like fintech businesses, they're probably on LinkedIn. You just need to use AI to find out where your niche spend the most time, but don't spend too long. Just do like 1 or 2 hours. It's pretty simple to find out who you're helping and like where they spend the most time. So that's like the first thing you need to figure out. The second thing is you need to find your growth engine. So what is the main activity that will keep feeding your business? And this is the top of your flywheel. So for example, like, it could be posting long form assets, it could be doing reach outs, and it could be both. Bear in mind, you could like reach out, and that's how people find you. That's your top of funnel. That's how a stranger comes across you. And then maybe they like, know, and trust you, which is the middle of the funnel through the long form assets. And then the bottom of the funnel is how they buy. Maybe that's just an appointment if you're running a booked call funnel. Sorry, it could be a VSL if you're selling like a low ticket. But yeah, this just comes through experimentation. So here are some examples. Maybe, it's reaching out to 50 prospects a day. Keep watching because I'm going to explain the actual 4 biggest problems people have that prevent them from actually making money with their flywheel in like 2 minutes. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense. The third thing is what makes a stranger believe you're worth listening to. So this is where you turn attention into belief. For example, educational or inspiring content. Maybe you provide case studies. Maybe it's behind the scenes building public updates. Maybe it's social proof and stuff like that. Maybe you use other people's names or businesses to educate the market. For example, if you have no case studies, you can talk about how another company in the exact same industry of who you're helping is using AI. That's just an example. Obviously, it depends on what your offer is and stuff like that. But I'm trying to give you ideas and make it as easy as possible for you guys to actually implement this. And then finally, what is your conversion mechanism? Is it going to be a booked call? Is it going to be, straight to the like low ticket if you're running like a SaaS or a similar kind of offer? And that's just, something that you can figure out. It's not that complicated. So when it comes to implementing this, now this is what matters the most. So based on the information I've given you, you understand that you need to create your own client attraction flywheel. You should understand how some of the biggest companies use theirs. You should understand like my one, for example. You should understand what maybe yours would look like. But from this, you have a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is essentially just what you think is going to work based on what I've given you as information. Now you need to actually take action on this, because when you take action, the sooner you take action, in fact, the sooner you get data. And the sooner you get data, the sooner you can refine that data to figure out what works. For example, you have an idea. Maybe, you're helping accountants and you're thinking that if you, follow this, you can reach out to accountants, you could reach out to 50 per day, you could create maybe a demonstration or asset based on what your offer is. You could send them, you take action on that. Maybe you get a low reply rate. Maybe you get a low retention view rate, whatever it may be. But from that data, you can make improvements. You can see where you're going wrong, and you can finally get it right. However, without action, you're never going to succeed. So this is the most important part, because you need data. The sooner you get data, the sooner you're going to make money. I promise you. Now, when it comes to the 4 biggest reasons most people fail, and I promised to show you this at the end, so that's why I'm showing you this now. Let's show you number 1. So number 1, let's go over here, is lack of attention. So as Hormozi said himself, the biggest threat to a business doing under $1 million per year is the fact that simply nobody knows who you are. Okay? So most people, they never actually do enough quantity to get enough data or just get enough attention. So for most people, the problem is at the very top of the flywheel. That is the main problem most people have. They don't get enough units of value at the top of the flywheel. Okay? That's number 1. So I need you to not have that problem. So let's move on to the second reason most people fail. So you don't have the same problem. And it's going to be, there's too much emotion, fear, and they just never start in the first place. Now, I understand how this is. When you're trying to go somewhere you haven't been, it's totally fine for others not to see the same mission as what you see, because it's your purpose, it's your journey for a reason. So friends, family, other people that may influence you to, live a conventional, safe existence. It's I understand why it's hard, but you need to just remove emotion and stick to a more scientific approach, like what I've shown you right here, in terms of you have an idea, you take action on that idea, you get data, you refine that, and if you work through it in a scientific kind of manner, or maybe a more mathematic manner, it's very hard to fail when you do that for a long enough period of time, and especially when you're focusing on things that compound, like what I'm explaining right here, as a flywheel, you're going to be set. I'm trying to make this as easy for you as possible, but hopefully this is valuable. Now, the third thing, let's go right here, is going to be perfectionism and automating too early. So you need to do the unscalable so you can get to a point where you can then take a step back and scale it up. So what I mean by that is, if we look at like outbound, for example, when you're reaching out to prospects, most people just want to automate that straight away. But I promise you that is not the right thing to do. You want to find something that works on a micro level and then scale it up on a macro level. That is a very important thing. Do not automate too early. Just don't. You want to try and do the unscalable to get to a point where you can then do the scalable. And don't worry about it being perfect, because quite frankly, when you start, your videos are going to suck, your messages are going to suck, but the only way you're going to get better is doing quantity. And sure, once you've done enough quantity, for example, for me, once I've posted like hundreds of videos, once I've done thousands of outbound messages, you can then take a step back and you can assess the data, and you can then maybe do less or higher quality. So for example, if you look at like YouTube is asymmetric, meaning it's not proportionate. So for example, if I create a video and I put 20% more effort into a video, that could get 500% more views, or 100% more views, or 1,000% more views. So it's not linear, is what I'm trying to say. But when you're starting, you need to do the quantity to be able to know what works. So that's like the third thing. And the fourth thing is going to be entropy and recycled ideas and just acquisition methods. So entropy is basically stating that like everything in life is over time gonna depreciate. For example, you buy a car, it's gonna depreciate. The human body, you're watching this every day from this point on, you're even now you're depreciating in terms of your body's getting older, and it's just designed to fail over time. However, when you go to big creators, big people, and you take their advice, and they've gotten thousands of people to watch the same videos and do the same methods, strategies, tactics, you're increasing entropy. Just like you use a car more. The more people do the same thing, the more entropy kicks in, and the more it's going to fail and become harder to succeed. And lead sourcing is another one that I see quite commonly, where people do like outbound and they just go for the same like New York real estate agents, and of course it's not going to work. They've been pitched too many times with the same offer. Instead, go for a more low-key city that's maybe near you, and by doing that, you're going to hopefully reduce the amount of exposure that they've had to similar like B2B marketing offers. But notice how I didn't mention anything about like offers, and the reason being is if you have a performance offer, meaning you're increasing the top line revenue of a business, and you're just increasing the lifetime gross profit, meaning you're getting them more customers, you're helping them keep customers or clients, that's valuable. It's not your offer that's the problem. It's the fact that you're doing one of these four things. Okay, so hopefully you found this video valuable, or if you're saving them time, like that's another thing. And a good exercise to do very quickly, just a bit of extra value. I can't remember who did this. I think it was Jeff Bezos, but he basically had an idea that stated like, here's what I'm going to do with your money. And if you can include that in a slide when you're trying to sell someone something, and it literally just says, here's what I'm going to do with your money, and you explain it in a single sentence or two sentences, that simplicity is the easiest way to sell more of whatever you want. So that's why I'm not a fan of like, going over the top with your offers. I think if you can just make people more money, save them time, condense that into like a single offer, and you have like here's what I'm going to do with your money slide, it's not your offer that's the problem, because you're giving them value. It's more so the trust. It's more so the fact that you're not getting enough quantity. It's more so other things like you just haven't developed your flywheel and you haven't taken action on it. So hope you found this video valuable. This is honestly the easiest way to make your first 100k. You need to build this out. You need to have an idea of what you're doing. You're not just going to stumble across the money, but hopefully the concepts and the ideas in this video do very well for you. Take it easy, subscribe. If you need my help, you can find some links in the description. Take it easy, guys.